The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized for 1 hour.
Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of debate only, I yield the customary 30 minutes to my good friend, the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. McGovern, pending which I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Without objection, and the gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized for as much time as he wishes to consume.
During consideration of this resolution, all time yielded is for the purposes of debate only. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Rules Committee met and reported a rule for consideration of the Senate amendment to H.R. 2029. The resolution makes an order, a motion offered by the chair of the Committee on Appropriations, that the House concur in the Senate amendment with 2 House amendments. Amendment number 1, consisting of the text of the omnibus appropriations bill, is provided 1 hour of debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking member of the Committee on Appropriations. Amendment number 2, consisting of the text of the tax extenders bill, is provided 1 hour of debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking member of the Committee on Ways and Means. The rule provides for a separate vote on each amendment. In addition, the rule provides that if one or both amendments are adopted, then the bill is sent to the Senate. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the rule provides the standard recess authorities typically given at the end of the first session of Congress. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to be presenting to the House today the rule which will provide for consideration of 2 critical pieces of legislation which are the product of long and hard negotiations between the House, the Senate, and the administration. First, Mr. Speaker, this rule provides for consideration of the Protecting Americans from Tax Hikes Act of 2015, the PATH Act. This legislation makes over 20 different tax provisions permanent, like the Research and Development Tax Credit, Section 179 expensing, and the state and local sales tax deduction. Many of these provisions have existed as part of the tax code for many years. However, they were often extended retroactively or on a yearly basis, making it difficult for businesses and individuals to plan effectively. Making these provisions permanent will allow businesses and individuals to make more sensible decisions throughout the year, not just during the final 12 or 14 days at the end of the year after Congress passes a retroactive extension. This bill also includes extensions of other tax provisions, like the New Markets Tax Credit, bonus depreciation, and the Work Opportunity Tax Credit through 2019. Additionally, there are other provisions that are retroactively extended for 2015 and through 2016. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the PATH Act includes a number of program integrity measures designed to strengthen the integrity of the tax code programs that have high rates of improper payments, fraud, or abuse. Finally, Mr. Speaker, this bill includes a series of designed to rein in the power of the Internal Revenue Service and better protect the American people, like firing IRS employees who take politically motivated actions against taxpayers and prohibiting the IRS employees from using personal email accounts for official business. In addition to these critical tax extenders, the rule also provides for consideration of the omnibus spending bill for the fiscal year 2016 at the funding levels agreed to in the Bipartisan Budget Act passed earlier this year. There's much to be proud of in this 2,000-page bill and accompanying explanatory statement, but as I've told many of my colleagues, if you can't find something you don't agree with in the bill, you must not be looking hard enough. That being said, Mr. Speaker, this omnibus spending measure is a compromise and a reflection of divided government, but it also demonstrates a commitment by both sides to restoring regular order to this House. While I could provide a long list of things I wish were included, this bill still maintains key Republican and conservative priorities. For example, the bill keeps EPA staffing levels at the lowest level since 1989. In addition, it terminates dozens of duplicative, ineffective, or unauthorized programs. Beyond the numerous cuts and restrictions on the executive branch, this bill also delays additional onerous Obamacare mandates. For example, it delays the Cadillac tax on health care insurance for 2 additional years and imposes a moratorium on health insurer excise tax in 2017. In addition to these important changes, the omnibus also reveals some of the programs that Republicans value and that, frankly, Democrats value as well, Included in this legislation is a $2 billion increase for the National Institutes of Health. Likewise, it increases funding by 9.8% for the VA, while restrictions and oversight to ensure that taxpayer dollars will be used more effectively. In addition, Mr. Speaker, this legislation includes a repeal of the crude oil export ban. Repealing this ban, which has been in place for the past 40 years, has the potential to create more than 1 million new jobs across the United States, add $170 billion annually to our gross domestic product, and lead to still lower gasoline prices. This provision is a victory for the American people. I'm sure that many of my colleagues will speak about other portions of this legislation. However, in closing, I would like to recognize the hard work of Chairman Rogers, Ranking Member Loy, and Speaker Ryan, who were able to lead us to this necessary compromise. This is the second year in a row that we will have been able to complete a vast majority of the appropriations process before the end of the calendar year, giving us the ability to begin the process anew when we return in January. It's the accumulation of hard work of members and staff over the past 10 months and should be worthy of all members' support. Mr. Speaker, I urge support of the rule and the underlying legislation, and with that, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves his time. The gentleman from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.